Good afternoon, everyone. I'm 𝐸𝐴𝐞𝐚𝐭, non-independent, non-executive director of Oceanus, and I have been nominated as the chairman to this annual general meeting. I have been informed by the share registrar that we have a quorum and we shall proceed with the formal business of this meeting. The notice of the AGM dated 14 April 2022, which has been released to SGX ST via SGXNet on 14 April 2022, shall be taken as read. Members are still apprised of the AGM proceedings, including the substantial and relevant comments, all questions raised by members, and responses from the board and/or management prior to or at this meeting through the publications of this meeting's minutes on SGXNet and our company's IR website within 1 month after this meeting. If there are any technical disruptions during this live webcast and audio transmission, please bear with us. Thank you for your understanding. As set out in the announcement released to SGX ST on 14 April 2022, the important notice to shareholders in relation to the conduct and proceedings of today's AGM, the arrangement for submitting questions in advance of the AGM contained therein, both live webcast and audio only, allows you to view and or listen to the AGM proceedings respectively. Members are also allowed to submit questions via the live chat function, and we will respond to relevant and substantial questions raised at the end of this meeting. I would also like to inform that we have addressed the relevant and substantial questions received from members in advance of this meeting, and our responses has been released to SGX ST via SGXNet and the company's webpage on 22nd April 2022. We now proceed to the Q&A session for any questions raised by members via the live chat function during the meeting. For this session, I will be handing the stage back to Peter, who will open the floor to our shareholders for some questions. Peter, please.
Thank you, 𝐸𝐴𝐞𝐿. The company has received a number of questions from our members via the live chat function. So now let me deal with the questions one by one. Dwayne, you want to start with the first question that's on the chat?
Thanks, Peter. So looking through the queries, there are quite a number of questions surrounding Oceanus' recent downtrending share price. So I guess, if we dive straight into this question, I think the number one question in shareholders' mind currently is, what are your views on this? And secondly, what steps are management taking to address this?
Okay. These are questions that is often asked in every AGM, but just like in every other AGMs, I always say the same thing. A management and the board of any company that is listed in any exchange, I think their key function should be looking into how to actually making sure that the company is profitable, and at the same time, how the company can continue to grow and grow really, really fast. I guess at the end of this is that the whole thing is about building the fundamental of this whole business, building a business that actually will see the ends of times, and whether there's some situations around the world like COVID or war or anything, whereby how the management can then actually sail the company to a path whereby it continues to do well. I guess that is the key role what the management and the board should be doing, rather than staring at the screen all day long and looking at how we could actually do something to make the price better. So I personally believe that when the fundamentals is rock solid, slowly but surely things will take care by itself. Now, having said that, when it says that, what the company is doing, I think what we are doing is basically to ensure that every of our shareholders, in the long run, this company will continue to grow and grow to a point whereby you will probably see some huge results, but rather than it's a spice that has got no real fundamentals. So to me, I think the company, my team, my board, we are very fixated that we wanted to build this company into the next big thing, not just in Singapore. So I guess if you guys are with us on our long run, stay on. Win, what's next?
Thank you, Peter. So the next question will probably revolve around the current geopolitical landscape. Running through the questions, a lot of us, we're facing currently the rising tension between US, China, the Ukraine war, disruption of the supply chain in China. So I guess on the forefront of a lot of the shareholders' mind, it seems, is, how does this affect the business of Oceanus?
Okay, good questions. I was interviewed by one of the radio channels during the hype of the COVID. And if you look at our result today, you realize that over the last 2 years, we continue to experience huge growth despite what the world is going through with this whole COVID situation. I guess at the end of the day, what I told the interviewer then was Oceanus was built on a backdrop that we came on board and the company was already an insolvent company. And when we actually got ourselves out of that insolvency, we always constantly remind ourselves that where we started right under the water. And then when we got on board and we say that we should not be resting by our laurel, and we have to actually start planning what should we be doing. And each time we will remind ourselves that if we are not careful, we can always fall back. So we are always very careful and very mindful that for us to be where we are today is nothing short of hard work, determination, and the list goes on. But it can also easily go back to the old days if we are not careful. Therefore, we are always looking at the worst scenario. I remember back in 2018 when we got out from our restructuring and we were no longer insolvent. And I told the shareholders in one of the AGM, I says that, if today we are basically a ship that is with all the holes patched, we got no immediate danger of sinking. But that is about it. We are drifting aimlessly. And if we are hit a rock or a cliff, we'll go down all over again. So the important thing is fixing the engine. Important thing is always be mindful and always making sure that we are prepared for anything that happen. And that's exactly what we do. And it's exactly because of that. That's why during the COVID, instead of suffering, we actually did even better than before, and we continue to grow. So I guess the key thing is always be ready for the worst. Always like to always tell my team that, and I always remind myself the same thing is what Winston Churchill of Great Britain, one of the great Prime Minister of Great Britain, and he always says that never waste a crisis, because every crisis is an opportunity, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Well, Dwayne.
Thanks, Peter. I think you touched a bit on food security, and I think it'd be interesting to sort of bring forth this question we received, which was, Oceanus is a Singapore company. So how is Oceanus going to contribute to the food security of Singapore?
Well, Oceanus is a Singapore company, and obviously Oceanus will have to be involved, be it directly or indirectly, with the national food security agenda. Now, as we are today, we have actually signed up deals with SETS, and we have done many collaborations with local farmers and also with local distributors, as well as overseas distributors and all this stuff. Now, that is exactly what I've been doing, and so we are doing quite a fair bit of it. But I can't say more because national security.
Got it. So moving on, we've got some questions, which is on.
So sorry, just to tell you, are we doing something? Yes, we are. But can I elaborate? No, we cannot. So that's the answer. Yes.
Understood. Thanks, Peter. So I guess again, on the food security angle, there are some questions asking for an update in terms of the food tech hub in Hainan. So this was a venture that we announced a few years back, where it was in collaboration with Hainan Raffles Group.
Yeah.
And there are some questions, asking, what is the status of this venture?
Well, I mean, truth to the matter is that there's nothing happened until this stage at this point of time. Simple reason is because as a management, we have a great deal there. But when we have a great deal at that point of time, that was all. And then what happened the next 2 years is there's this COVID thing, we can't travel, we can't see. Now, being a responsible company, we have to make sure stuff for the shareholders, you guys. And we have to make sure, even without you guys asking us questions on like once a year during this AGM, because look, if we cannot be there to monitor the thing, and we cannot be, because of the restrictions and all this stuff, and even we do go and it will be not as smooth as before. Now, it's only prudent for the company to slow down it, to wait before we just jump in and then invest and put in our money. Because to me, that is the easy part. The difficult part is to monitor the growth of the company and to monitor the situation. Now, we are very well aware how things goes, and it can go wrong very quickly. I mean, Oceanus is not short of all this experience when in our early days when we have farms all over China and it's losing a lot of money. So to us, is if we want to go into any venture, we got to make sure that the control must be there. And because of the current situation of restrictions in traveling and all this stuff, we are putting it on hold for the time being because we can't afford to lose. Yeah.
Thanks, Peter. I think what's interesting is, there are some shareholders that have been posting messages of encouragement to the board and the management team. In fact, one of them has just mentioned that, they trust you 100% and they have no questions.
Oh, thank you very much for all the gentlemen who say that. We truly appreciate it. I think my team and myself truly appreciate it. And like I said back 7 years ago, we are here because of you guys and not because of anything else.
So moving on, we see a question that mentions that, in your presentation, there's a lot of focus on the teching up, a lot of buzzwords revolving around blockchain, digital exchange platform. So the question is, when will the company actually start to see real returns on these ventures and teching up exercise?
Okay, let me answer this question in two stages. First, this teching up is not new to begin with. For those who were with me in my earlier AGM, you all know that we planned the company in 3 stages. First is the cleaning up, which is obvious. And then next is the building up, which is what we have been doing for the last couple of years. And then right now we are embarking on teching up. Now, we say that right from the start of our journey. Reason because this is how it has got to be. I mean, look, we got to clean it up because when we joined this company those days, the company was in a terrible stage. So we got to clean up, do the restructuring, get back control of the farm, so on and so forth. Then when we do that, I say the ship basically it's not in any immediate danger of sinking, but the fact that it got no sail and it's drifting aimlessly. So we got to build the fundamentals and get the business going, and that's what we have been doing. Now that we have done all this stuff, of course, we continue to grow the fundamental business, but what's next? Evolving the business is the key. Now, today, if we do not evolve, and we can see around us is technology is all over the place. So we could be doing well today for what we have done, but if we stop here, it's as good as resting by our laurel again, and we will never know what's going to happen in the next 5-10 years. Just take, for example, I mean, 20 years ago or 10 years ago, when people say buying things through a handphone, to me is absurd. But today, this is happening all over the place. Now, if I, as a commander of this company, I do not take that approach to always evolve ourselves into what is the next big thing and then bring the business along with it. We could end up becoming the dinosaurs of tomorrow, despite the fact that we are doing all right now. So we ought to be always in the forefront of what's happening. Now, on the second part of the questions, you think that when are we going to see results? Take a look around ourselves. A lot of the startup, a lot of the tech company, they're losing billions of dollars. To say teching up is an easy word, but to go through that and to go through that process is a really painful one. And a lot of all these startups, they could actually do it, even for them, it takes 5-10 years to build it up. But during these 5-10 years, if you can read in a newspaper, they burn billions of dollars. And each time after they burn the money, they will go out and raise more money and continue to burn because they're a startup. But for us, we are not. We are a public listed company. We are bounded by the SGX rules and regulations. And we also have to be responsible for you guys out there who actually invest in us. So it's a matter of balancing, meaning that we have, on one hand, be very mindful that we cannot just business as usual and just stop doing and stop thinking. But at the same time, we also have to do it in a very measured way, whereby we can't just throw everything in and then start losing money. So we have to make sure that we continue to grow, continue to develop into technology, but while at the same time be very mindful on our bottom line. So for you guys out there, I think it's the best of two worlds. I mean, it's like you invest in a company that is like a startup, but at the same time with a huge growth potential, but at the same time not burning through the roof, because we have to assure that. So I guess this is what it is. So having said all these things, is that how do we going to see fruits? I can't tell you. I mean, I'll be lying if I tell you guys by next year you can see this, or by what. But it's all emotion. It's all a process. Just like I can't tell you guys those days that are we going to be doing this well, we're going to be that well. But all this while, from day one until now, I can only guarantee and to all my shareholders out there that we will do our best. And if anything at all, is that we will put you guys ahead of anything else. But we can't give you empty promises and things that by next year this is going to happen, by that. But we are working very hard. And I think you can see that there's a lot of changes and a lot of development. I think we are probably one of the very few public listed companies that grow at this kind of rate. It's like we are behaving like a startup, but yet we're still a public listed company. Wayne?
Thanks, Peter. So just to round off a few questions, I think this is centering around corporate actions that the shareholders are asking about, and this also again comes back to share price.
Okay.
We see some queries asking, is there any value in Oceanus remaining a public company, or should it be a private company?
Well, to begin with, this answer of this the answer of this question is, first we got to take a look back at what is the value of this company today. Now, back in the early days, this company, at the worst stage, it was like what, 10 million market cap. Today is easily what, 400-500 million market cap. So if you want to take it private, first we got to find someone who can come up with that 400-500 million. As far as I'm concerned, I have not found that somebody yet, and I think we are quite happy being listed.
Thanks, Peter. Then part two of that question is, how about share consolidation?
Well, that is another thing that we've always been asked as well. I mean, I look at it as that this is one thing that we will consider down the road, but maybe not at this point of time.
Thanks, Peter. So I guess to round off, I mean, we do have still quite a number of questions, but I think you've answered.
I got the signal from the producer here saying that we're running out of time, but I look at it as that we only meet my shareholders once a year, and it's now through a screen. So I rather want to spend a little bit more time. So try to rush out. We can answer as much as possible.
Sure, okay. Looking through, I think one of the questions maybe I'll throw out is, because Oceanus has quite a few different segments right now in terms of the pillars, and we see a question asking, which of these segments do you see the highest level of growth in the coming years?
Well, I guess in the years ahead, I will see the innovation pillars will be the one that will grow the most, because it is right now we are saying that we are moving on the phase of teching up, and we would want to transform this whole company into a food tech company. So we started off as a traditional farmer, and today, for what we have done, and then we are moving towards the next phase, and the next phase is to become a food tech company. And well, I guess the technology part will be the next big thing for us.
Thank you. So next question would be, do you see any similar emerging competitors of Oceanus coming out in the next few years?
Not that I do see, at least not in Singapore, but the world is so big, I can't say for sure there ain't any that is like us. But for whatever we are doing, I mean, in my last AGM, we say we are focusing into the food security, and we are trying to bridge the gap, and that's exactly what we are doing right now. So if anyone go to ROC or ACLA to register a new company, I don't think you see I don't think you're going to see many companies out there with their principal business activity food security. So I think we are quite unique.
Sure. This comes back to food security. It's, I understand it's a bit sensitive, but there are some questions asking, can you share a bit more about the collaboration with 𝐸𝐶𝑠, our country foods? It seems there's some level of interest to understand a bit more about, Oceanus in the logistics and warehousing space.
Well, for obvious reason, I can't share a lot, but I can say that has a lot to do with the food security. But it don't end there. I mean, I look at it as that currently we are doing the cold chain logistics. We're also doing other stuff. And also, when I say it don't end there, it also don't end with just Singapore. I mean, we are doing something in China, and we're also right now pitching to other countries. So, but again, business such as this is unique in a way whereby, how you call it? It's unique in a sense that you don't have a lot of competition, but while at the same time, we have to be very mindful about what we can say and what we cannot say, because to us it's just a business, but to our customers it's national security. So I hope you guys out there understand.
Thanks, Peter. The next few questions I'll try to fit in is revolving around fundraising. So the first question is, are there plans to raise more money?
Raising more money, not at the moment. We just finished one round of fundraising, and we obviously not looking at it in the near future. I guess right now is from whatever exercise we have done now, moving forward is how do we then take this fund that we raise and to then move to use it carefully to bring us to the next level on what we are planning to do. So yeah, the short answer is no at this moment.
So again, on fundraising, this current AGM, the shareholders are approving the fundraise for a few parties. There are some shareholders who are asking, who are these investors, and will they fit in strategically with Oceanus Group?
They do, of course. In fact, one of the largest contributor is our largest shareholders currently, Alacrity. And on the very first instance when they actually came on board, they already know, for one thing for sure, is that they are moving on a long term and they're seeing a future in this company. Because back then when I spoke to them, to the boss, I did say that, what can you help the company, because this is a very unique company. I mean, if you are looking in the short term, there's nothing to offer. I mean, there's nothing the company can offer, but the point is, what can you also offer the company to then work together with us, and how do you then work with us and then grow the company? And that's also the reason this time around I also to have a thank you to them, that when we want to do fundraising, they were very spontaneous, and they straight away come out and help us with the fundraising, and in fact they put in the most money. I guess it's nothing short of a vote of confidence, and also delivering the promise back then, and for that I think I'm really appreciative.
Thanks, Peter. Well, looking through, I think you've covered a lot of ground. You've covered the gist of it. I think we'll probably look forward to the next opportunity of forum to answer further questions, but I believe this will be most of the questions we receive from the ground.
I'd like to thank the members for their questions. With that, I conclude the Q&A sections, and I hand the stage back to Clifton for the formal proceeding of the AGM. Thank you very much.